How's everybody doing? Welcome to Cosmic Blueprints Open Forum tonight. Yeah, we're just trying to get things a bit more open right now. We got some pretty cool guests coming up this week. So one of the things that Tony and I like to do on occasion, I don't know if Tony does, but I sure as hell do. But what I like to do on occasion is bring a lot of the current things that are happening in the now, which is what we do anyway, but specifically things that are going on. Where we can, create an open forum. Yeah, Sunday night's a good night to do it, and we had a good. I tell you, the last couple of nights have been pretty wild, so I don't expect anything to be any different tonight. But Tony, how are you doing?
Not too bad at all. You, Kate?
Good, hanging in there. It looks like we have Jeremiah in the call.
Now we sure do. Oh, this has been incredible these last few nights. Oh my goodness.
Certainly has. Never expected half of it, especially, total shock, isn't it? Like I say, with Brett calling in, the information getting out, and then the build-up, then the sites getting hit, and wow, it's sort of like very busy, so to say the least. You there, Jeremiah?
Oh, yes, I'm here. I'm driving while I'm talking at the same time in the snowy weather of New England. So just multitasking at this time. But yes, it's been incredible. I mean, I cannot believe what I'm hearing from Brett. It's just solidifying everything that I've researched and believed in, and it's just it's overwhelming to this point that it's just all true, and it's just. What you have to offer, Tony, in regards to these free energy and gravity, it's just blowing my mind.
Yeah, it blew my mind when I found it out. I mean, crikey, I couldn't believe what I was actually seeing. But again, I've mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. When you've got unlimited, massive amounts of free energy, you have unlimited, massive amounts of electromagnetism. And it's just down to the next, right, how are you going to use it? Well, you build an electrogravitic field out of the magnetism, and then you have anti-gravity. I mean, crikey, it's that simple. But I wouldn't have never figured it out initially had I never started to look. But once you do look, then you can see. Simple. And it's like, oh my God, it's a different flipping world. What on earth are we doing in this shit pit? Pardon my French.
I was going to say, I'm just listening along to you guys. Yeah, absolutely. People like Brett Stilling showing up out of the blue. That's not a coincidence. These are what synchronicities are. And if you're paying attention to them and you start connecting these beautiful dots along the old brick road, you start to see a beautiful panorama unfold before you. And all those things, just like you were saying, Jeremiah, all these things that you all knew to be what they were. And then you start getting things confirmed from one of these sources. It bodes well for the heart, and that we've always known. We've always known. I mean, there are no, as Son puts it so well, there is nothing new under the sun. And here's the thing: we're not here to learn anything. We are here to remember. So what's happening now is we're in such a time where so much is getting exposed so quickly. A lot of people are getting left in the dust, no question, but so many more are finally seeing that dust clear, and they're looking ahead and seeing all of us going, come on, it's awesome over on this side, let's go, let's have fun, Just my thoughts anyway.
It really is. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, the fantasy world that we live in, I mean, it's just whatever we want it to be. And I really think that we're just moving into that just positive realm. I mean, I think that first we have to destroy the structure that's been controlling us for so long. But once that's gone, then we can start building it and actually enter this world where we're free, truly free. And I'm still just flabbergasted as to how this is all just coming about in the last it's been. I think a month now since I've been listening to Santos, and then just following the breadcrumbs at that point, and then it just with everything. So it's just unbelievable, and I have nothing really to offer other than the experience that I've had on my own journey, and I'm just following what everything else is bringing me to.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the same sort of experience. It's when you pick up the first breadcrumb and you look at it really flipping closely, you don't believe what you found at first. And then you look at it really close and you think, no, this can't be right, this has got to be wrong. And then when you finally sit back and go, oh, sugar, it's real, then you look down, there's another one. And you pick that up, no, you're kidding me. You pick that one up and it's, holy cow, this one's real as well. Well, if these two are real, and then look down, there's a third and a fourth and a fifth, and it stretches and enhances and increases your imagination step by step by step. Each thing you look at, I mean, oh wow, there's just so many examples I could give you. Hollow Earth being one of them. It's like when somebody contacted me, he says, yeah, I've been looking into this. I said, what? He said, Hollow Earth. I said, look, I'll look at some stuff, right? I said, but there's no way I'm going that far. He said, no, look. I said, oh, get off. He said, no, look. So I went, all right, okay, let's have a look. Bang, another breadcrumb. And it goes on and on and on. And yeah, teleportation, I didn't believe in that either until I started looking into it. And again, if you start to understand that we're in a harmonic universe and that everything's waves are energy, solid matter is just a manifestation of a wave with various field effects going on around it. Look at the structure of an atom, which is electrons, neutrons, positrons flying around a nucleus, and then go subatomic. And again, you've got, subatomic particles flying around another nucleus, and another, and another, and another, and it's infinite. As above, so below. And so we're in the Matrix, guys. Welcome to the experience. So what are we going to make with it next? A heaven on earth, or an Illuminati New World Order controlled pile of we thought it was bad up until this point, oh my God, you've seen nothing yet type experience? Well, I prefer the heaven one. How about you?
Well, that definitely works for me. Something else I always like to keep in mind with people as well. We're not going to come across the airwaves with any form of agenda. What we're doing, if there is an agenda, it's simply to talk and let people talk to get what they want out. And being all grown up and everything, you get to be a discerning adult, and in that process, discern the truths for yourself. Because this is one of the things that caused mankind to be trapped for who knows how long, is when we get into these false paradigms of, master and slave, right? Master worship, slave domination. And, a master makes a slave in as much as a slave makes a master. It's a two-way street, because everyone will turn around and say, well, so-and-so's, the master over this, that, and the other. So, well, he or she's only that because you chose it, you decided to give away that power. And what I'm finding now, anyway, is people are taking it back. We're not going to get on the air and talk about what a lot of mainstream truther radio, whatever. I don't need to mention names. You all know who I'm talking about. Lots of them out there. Where they're sensationalizing things. They're delving into fear porn, ramping this up and ramping that up, and all the rest of it. Yet at the same time, they throw in about 30% truth that you can, garner from this if you've got a discerning ear. But the problem is, when you've got all these creations going on around you, being created for you, your thought goes there. This is one of the things about. I will say, Alex Jones did say this right. There is a war on for your mind, and if your mind is weak, and you buy into it, you're going to get owned, lock, stock, and barrel, no question. We've been talking about things like opt lately. Again, I'm going to go right back to it. If something contains truth, then it can withstand the scrutiny. I'm not here to win a popularity contest. I'm just here to get out of the nitty-gritty. And as I've said in many posts lately, I'm prepared with my cutlery to eat crow. Are you? And it's not about being right or wrong. And the minute you take the position that you have to be right, well, you've already excluded any form of balanced conversation. I will not even call it debate, because debate is the realm of ego, and I'm not going to get into that. I really, we get caught up on it on occasion, and it's only due to the emotions of things coming into it. So what we have, well, for me anyway, I have to be mindful not to bring emotion into it, and At the same time, try to approach things with compassion, understanding, the thought that maybe you might be wrong about what your position is, in as much as you might be right. This is not about needing to be right. This is about needing to find truth. And we get caught in this paradigm of duality back and forth. And, how many arguments have you been in? I've been in a few. So, I've been watching some posts, and it's always the same rhetoric coming from the same people trying to rebut something. They're not coming at things with substantive, facts or details or whatever. Yet they very quickly, the minute I see something going personal is the minute I know the individual has lost, because they haven't got a factual argument left. So what they do, if they can't take down the argument, they'll take down the making it, or they'll attempt to. It's some beautiful posts by Arthur Christian, who's been sharing a lot of stuff, excuse me, with regards to opt. And of course, for those that were listening to tonight, Leaving the Farm with Tammy Pepperman, there are very few legal, lawful minds that can withstand the scrutiny of Tammy. She's done her homework, and that goes without saying. That is evidenced in everything she brings up. And what I find most times with people, especially in these kind of discussions, is the depth of understanding of any given or particular subject is so shallow that they cannot get to the depths of things that Tammy or myself or so many of us talk about. It's all very superficial. It's all carrot chasing. It's a bunny chasing a 24 carat carrot. You know what I'm saying? So you got to stop looking out and seeing these things that are going to lure you. You'll definitely get more flies with honey, and you'll definitely get more flies with honey on a web. But we got to be very careful in what we put our energy behind. And again, when you look at the situation of the system and how it works in general, that's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to flow your energy to someone else. And I'm going to put this one out to people. How many politicians have people voted for and got screwed over? I would have to say every friggin' one of them. So, definition of insanity, we go back to it. That's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So after, a few hundred years or 1,000 years or so of voting, basically criminals, they're lying when their lips are moving, right? Hasn't worked. And all it's done is it's undermined the people. But that's people's unwillingness to take responsibility for their own lives, thinking that someone else has an obligation. A government, well, they have to take care of me. They won't take care of you. They're not interested in you. They're not interested in you at all. All they want is the money and the power. And that is the basis of a psychopathic mind. So you want to keep throwing your votes, or volts, let's say it right. It's a silent L, by the way, volt. Right? You're throwing your energy into an election, right? Electrify, election. Oh, when you're paying attention, you'll see it. That's why they wanted everything centered at, direct current, DC. Everything's there if you're paying attention. And we've got to stop taking things too seriously and start making game of it again. And that takes all the seriousness out of the fear porn. And I don't know. It's definitely interesting times we're in. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, you said it, Kate. Oh, go ahead, Tony.
No, it's all right. Carry on, mate. Go for it.
Well, I was very, very passionate about this one people's public trust idea. And the only reason why I cared about it, I didn't care about the gold or about, filing any kind of, paperwork or whatever, because I understood it was that legalized aspect, and it was just following that same suit. So when I started to hear something about, like with Tammy Pepperman and various others just mentioning the fraudulent actions of Heather, I really see her as operating in the best of intentions. And I'm not concerned about the legalized aspect of it. The main focus that I have on OPPT is just the idea that it's finally something that we can, talk to random people, just being like, well, look, you've been a slave, and this trust is created so you can realize it, so you can acknowledge it and find out your power and start asking questions, start re-examining things. And that's really the strongest point that it has, if anything, is that it finally has a way to have people question things and just really bring in this new, realm of being. And it really boils down to just that. And I believe that the legalized aspect is in play because it's kind of a transition. It can't be, so far removed into this idea as what Tammy Pepperman was saying, like just, being and not worrying about the legalized aspect, not forcing it into anything. But we still need that transition from that legalized aspect, I believe anyways, so people can start to, transition over into that way where we just allow the universe to work for us. So it's kind of like a happy medium for us to be able to move into that kind of realm, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, this I've said it many times, and I'll keep saying it. For me, it's not about the road you're taking; it's about the intent of where you're going. And for me, when it first came out, I to be honest, I got sick and tired of people. Have you opted in yet? And I said, no, I don't jump on bandwagons. I take a walk along and have a look at them first. And I take my time and I scrutinize. Of course, anything I need always comes across my desk. Don't ask me why, it just does. And things started popping up, and had a very few people, or a few people that I have a great deal of respect for, had passed along some info because they've got good shovels, they know how to dig deep, and started putting a few pieces together. Now, regardless of what what Heather and her crew are doing in terms of the legal stuff, one of the things you have to understand is the original spell is still in place, right? And this is where I stand. And when you're dealing, yes, you're absolutely right, Jeremiah, about a transition. And here's the thing. Now, Tammy had offered to get Heather on the air, and she refused. So my first reaction is, if something is so awesome, why would you refuse a platform? And we've got a fairly popular platform, and I know Tammy's got an amazing amount of people around her that have known her for years, And again, truth can withstand scrutiny. So if you're not willing to go head to head, especially if someone's claiming to be a lawyer, they better have you'd like to think that they have their shit about them, that they're savvy in the legal sense. But I mean, basic flaws, and me in language, right? I spent much of my time deciphering words, uncoding things, and doing that. I went after the magic within the words, right down to the flower of life, for crying out loud. To see the symbology, and we've had Jose Barrera on, and he's one in another beautiful perspective of the same thing about the spell. I'll tell you, when you come up to a stop sign, it's octagonal. There's your stop, and people stop. So it's actually, there's a material thing that is non-existent in terms of sentient being, and you're reacting to it. Now, that being said, I don't need a stop sign to stop me going across something that might be dangerous, But there you go. That's where you have the sheep, and it's this is not about safety. It's about control. It's about conditioning. More and more stop signs come up, more and more lights, traffic lights and everything else. They keep building these bloody things, and it's not for safety. It's for control. It's to keep that constant. We want to move as beings, quickly and go at our own pace. I mean, there's some people that can travel as fast and safe, and you'd never have a problem with them. And there's others that are idiots, but they're going to be idiots anyway, whether there are rules in place. It doesn't matter. And all I see it as is a conditioning of the masses, in that you will all do this speed limit, you will all stop here, and you will all turn this way. Again, it's a groupthink program. Pogrom, is, as Tammy has pointed out, is the better word. So I don't have an issue bringing people to the table, and I don't have an issue being wrong either, because I just learned something, and I've said that many times on the air. What I run into most of the time are people that cannot handle that, and then they get all out of joint, and they get their knickers in a twist, and I'm going, okay, well, when you can get rid of your ego, that need, that lust to be right and to be in control and play master, then we'll have a chat. Beyond that, I'm going to go grab a cup of tea, and come back, and if you're still there, great. If you're not, great. So it doesn't matter to me. But we have to be wide open about it. And what you said about transition, Jeremiah, is absolutely bang on. However, in that transition, we don't want to get caught on the, quote, ghost ship, unquote, going after things for the wrong reasons. Equally, in balance, we have people that have shifted intent that are, we got a lot of desperate people out there. A lot of people have lost their homes, lost their jobs, have lost everything, are getting hounded by system and all the rest of it. And of course, you see something like this, it's going to appeal to you because, a lot of people feel like they're drowning in the ocean. And when they see a life preserver, it might be filled with lead, but it's got a pretty bow on it, they'll go reaching for it. And as I said, I think it was last night or the night before, my biggest concern is you've got, everyday people, and I'm one of them, okay? So that's not a make less or a make more of. I'm an everyday being out there that don't have the experience that, say, Tammy, myself, Tony, or you, Jeremiah, or so many others that don't have that experience in terms of handling something, especially if they're, throwing up a courtesy notice. I mean, yeah, you can say whatever you want about it not being illegal, and it's all about fluffy bunny creator and all oneness and the rainbows and butterflies that get painted around it. But give me some cold hard facts here, because if you go into something, especially tied in with UCC, you're guilty by association. And for people listening, you might want to look up UCC 3.419, see what an accommodating party is. You might want to look up hypothecation. You might want to start looking at all the documents you've spent your whole life signing, especially ones with an X that means non-determined, which means they can do whatever they want with your signature. I had a great chat with Mary Croft last night about this very thing. If you want to end the game, it's very simple. You don't need to send a UCC file. Just stop signing things. That's the only thing that gives this system life. Stop putting your fucking name on stuff. But everyone does it. It's like someone asks you for ID. I look at them and go, you can't see me. I'm standing right in front of you. We want to know that a piece of paper isn't going to tell you I will, right? And there's the ongoing joke. What does that piece of paper say? Well, it doesn't say anything, does it? If you speak it, then it's saying something, but that's you saying it, not the piece of paper. That's the spell. You just got wrapped up in a spell. Squiggly lines on a piece of paper that somehow is your master? I got issues with that. But you're right. We have to get into the transition zone. But I'll tell you, if you're going to jump on or opt in, I prefer to co-opt out personally, but if you want to opt in, that's going to be your choice. And I said it, and I will say it again. Anyone that's harmed using the courtesy notice or any other opt-in documents or anything else that get harmed, that's on the heads of the people that put it out. And that's a great responsibility. I honestly don't think that they're going to take that responsibility seriously. Someone loses a home, you're gonna ante up and buy it back from them. So you got to be very careful. And I said that to Bob the other night too. As a radio host, Tony will tell you the same thing. As a radio host, I've got a great responsibility for those that are listening to me. Tammy's the same way. We know this. I'm not telling you what to do or what to say or how to think. What I'm going to do is give you a platform. I'm going to give you a perspective. You do what you want with it. When I send out a document, it's got my signature on it. Well, not signature, but you know what I mean. It's got my essence on it. It's written by me. It is my process. It is what I do, and I will stand in what I say, and I will expect no one else to do it. And anyone else that does, they're a fool. How many times have you heard the story? Well, I used so-and-so's process, and I went to jail. I said, no, you didn't. You used your interpretation of so-and-so's process because you don't have the full understanding that the being that put it together is. That's why we got to be leaders. We got to stop following these friggin' carrots. We got to stop going, oh, look, a life preserver. And before you grab it, it could be an explosive. You might want to go over and, scrutinize, the life preserver because it might be a trap. And I'm not saying that what they're doing is a trap, but I'm not saying it isn't either. You see the neutrality there? Just have a look. That's all I'm asking. Have a look. And we're looking, and I know that I'm not going to be popular with some people, and quite frankly, I don't give a shit. I'm not here to win a popularity contest. I'm here to find truth and keep working towards that ideal. Beyond that, people will do what they want. My intent is never to harm anyone, and I will do my utmost through my actions, to not allow others to take what I'm doing to use it to harm themselves, because I'm responsible there too. That's why I put it out there. What I do is what I do. What you do is what you do, and let's we'll sit around and have a coffee and talk about it.
Beautiful. Yeah. Go ahead, Tony.
No,
I got to take care of some things. Go ahead.
No, just saying, it's fair enough. I mean, at the end of the day, all it's about is spreading the information. And if people want to accept it, then accept it. If they don't, then please scrutinise it. And you'll pretty much come to your own conclusions. And that's the only way. It's like, like we say, don't necessarily believe what I'm saying. Just think about it, or ask yourself the question, or go and investigate it. But or ignore it if you want. But that's I can't stress enough that's the problem that's got us into this mess, ignoring the problems. So I mean, it's not about trying to get anybody into a further mess or a deeper mess. It's completely the opposite. It's trying to get us out of a mess. So whether you like it, dislike it, don't accept it, refuse to have it, whatever, it doesn't really matter. The point is, I'm just saying, well, this is what I've looked at, this is what I've found, bugging me. Guess what? It turns out to be right as far as my research goes. Can anybody else shed any light on this, or is it just me? Is this thing real or what? And that's the question. It's like, go and have a look and see what comes out.
Yeah.
But the more you do that, the more you resonate with what is actually right and what is actually wrong with this place. And then it becomes so bloody obvious. It's an absolute... Honestly, it does take its toll, because it's absolutely everywhere, and it's like so obvious. It's staring you in the face every time you even think about it. It's like, why did I fall for it? How did I manage to fall for it for this long? It's like, I can't believe we fell for it. But just there's so many people still out there that are completely and utterly asleep. It's like, what? But you can, I was just as asleep. I was just as I suppose I shouldn't really say guilty of being asleep, because, well, I don't know, should I be? I have to question myself, was I guilty of being asleep when I got here? Or was it something that got me to sleep before I arrived? Well, that's a question that I've looked at, and I just see conditioning all over the place. We were conditioned at birth, we were conditioned from school, we were conditioned in college, university, the sciences, everything's conditioning. So, I mean, whether it was my fault, or whether it was everybody else's fault for conditioning me, or whether we all got duped, well, I mean, that's basically the trump card, isn't it? We all got duped into the conditioning system, and maybe there's a reason for that. Well, maybe that reason is to learn that it's a conditioning system and wake up from it. And thus, you'll inherently create the wheel of karma completely going round again, yin and yang. We've lived in the darkness for all these thousands and thousands of years, and I reckon it's time that wheel tipped over back into the light again, and we had 1,000 years of golden age. I'm quite up for that, but I'm definitely not up for the opposite. I'll tell you, no way is that going to happen as far as I'm breathing. But that's my take.
Yeah, I'll add this to it. The the level of your awakening is directly proportional to the acceptance of how badly you got duped. And it's the more we can accept things that we've been, oh, you got me, that kind of feeling. The more we can accept that, the more awake we're going to be, because until you realize, I had this thing when you were talking there, Tony, going through my head. I remember this video. It was a prank video where someone had, on a bike trail, had dug a very, very large pit. It was about 5 or 6 feet deep, and it was maybe 8 or 9 feet long and wide. And what they had done with it is they dug this thing, I guess, overnight, and they had filled it with water, and it was a well-known bike trail. And what they were doing was, as soon as they had it filled with water, of course, it's going to be, anybody goes into it, they're going to get really wet. That's all. But what they did was, there was leaves all over the trail, and they had put a mesh on top of the water and covered that all with leaves. So at first glance, it looks like just like the rest of the trail. And prank after prank after prank, people coming down this trail were going into this water, and they're just flying along willy-nilly and not really paying attention. Now, someone who is, I would say, very well trained in trails and following trails and what have you, looking for overturned sticks, would see an area like that as a big danger zone, where the average individual who has never been trained to look at things differently only sees what they expect to see instead of what is actually there. And that's what I see a lot of these things that come out so quickly. I mean, that was the first thing that I questioned was, yeah, I understand the intent. If it is the intent, I love it. It's beautiful. I mean, you've heard me before about it. If there's something malfeasant attached to it, with a malintent, and that was kind of a vibe I got, not necessarily from any of the individuals in particular. I know a lot of them, they're very beautiful people, you know. But you know, here's the thing: you've got this beautiful thing that looks on the surface to be what it is, but as you dig a little bit deeper, you know, it's like having a box that's beautifully wrapped with a bow and gorgeous, and it's got your name on it and scroll and everything else. You open it up, and it's a freshly shined piece of dog poop. You might not be so happy. I guarantee you were happier looking at that present under the tree, or you know, when someone hands it to you, it's like, oh my, what's this? And I just don't want people to have that rude awakening is all. I just want people to go into things, you know, with a more educated, more trail spotting kind of, you know, perspective versus just riding along that trail blindly, looking at things as you want to see them, and then you fall into you know, an 8-foot hole filled with water, and you end up soaked, and your bike generally gets ruined. But there you go. Just my thought on it.
Yeah, well, you can add to it, but yeah, same sort of thing. It's a bit like, it's an assault course. Life is like an assault course. It's like that King Kong game. You know what I mean? You start on the bottom rung and you get run over by a barrel. And then you go, yeah, you know, I don't fancy that. I've only got 2 lives left, I better jump the next one. And you jump it and you find, you know, there's a ladder here, I might go up this one. Oh, look out, there's a barrel falling down it. And you just learn to start dodging one trap after the next trap after the next trap after the next trap. And, you know, pretty much you get to a point where you get towards the end of the game, right, where's the next trap? I've got to spot this next trap before it gets me. You know, what is it? Where is it? Where are they hiding it? You know, I've got the key, I've got the magic door. The door's at the end of the road there, I've just got to get from here to there without some Indiana Jones rock falling on my head. You know, or having to trip up on a leaf or something. That ends up blowing up the whole building and stuff. And it's like, well, where are they going to come from next? Trap after trap after trap. You know, and that's the way you've got to look at life as you're going through it. It's like, where's the next trap? But also, it's like, I've got to get to the end of this thing. This is what it's about getting to the end. And it's just like a computer game, isn't it? But, oof.
Yeah, it's exactly like a computer game, and people like us are the viruses in it. Well, like any computer game that works, your character that's you're controlling in the game is actually the virus. Everything is designed to attack it, right? So I did get a little note here on Skype from I see you ate a bug. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I'm going to read it. It's on integrity. So thank you for posting this. I have no idea if it's yours or not. If it is, well, you strike me as someone that would write something like this, so here we go. On integrity. We're going to visit the arena of profound humanness called integrity. Sometimes integrity is reduced to mean a kind of moral uprightness and steadfastness, in the sense of saying he has too much integrity to ever take a bribe. But profound integrity goes far beyond this. Sometimes, in order to distinguish it from the more limited popular usage, it is called secondary integrity. This is the integrity which is not constrained by limited moralities, however well-intentioned. The integrity that is profound living is the singularity of thrust of a life committed and ordering every dimension of the self towards that commitment. Thus the self is in fact shaped by the self and focused towards the commitments. You can say that audacious creation of the self takes place in integrity, without which you are simply the creation of the various forces impacting you in your society. Thus, the basis of integrity is destinal resolve, a resolve that chooses and sets your destiny and out of which your whole life is ordered. The object of that resolve is the ultimate decision of each person, and each person makes that choice, consciously or unconsciously. To do so with awareness is the height of man's responsibility. It is incarnate freedom. It is what real freedom looks like. Man has thus exercised his freedom. He realizes that to be true to himself ever thereafter, he has a unique position to look at the values of his society. He is no longer bound by the opinions and codes of his fellow man, but reevaluates them on the basis of their impact on his destinal resolve. Thus, the man of integrity is continuously engaged in a societal transvaluation, moving across the values of society and reinterpreting them in line with his life's thrust. It does not give him the liberty of ignoring his society, but his obligation transcends the conformity of living within the codes and mores of his society. Thus, the man of profound integrity always seems to not quite fit with his fellow men, but his actions always are appropriate for him, even to those who oppose him. No matter how odd the man of profound integrity appears to his neighbors, he experiences himself as securely anchored. While he is very clear that this world is not his home, nevertheless he experiences himself as having found his native vale. He experiences an eternal at-oneness, not so much with the currents and waves of activity around him, but with the deeper trends of history itself. Amid the flux of wavering to and fro that is so evident in others, he experiences an inexplicable rootedness, as though he has sunk a taproot deep into the foundations of the earth itself. Though he experiences his life as a long journey, even an endless journey towards the object of his resolve, yet he never senses himself as a stranger on the journey, as if he'd been here before. Original integrity is experienced primarily by this sense of at-oneness. Kierkegaard once wrote a book about this kind of integrity that he titled Purity of Heart is to will one thing. An ancient philosopher focused his wisdom around this integrity with the advice, know yourself and to your own self be true. You see, and what resonates, that's a very, very beautiful piece of writing, very profound in its nature if you can understand it. Effectively, for me, what resonated with me is the fact that it's not, I made a choice to stand in truth, the self-evident stuff that, sometimes you have to work for. Sometimes you have to sacrifice, and sometimes you have to, get roughed up a little bit. It's worth having because you earned it. And for me, truth has been the only shield that has kept the dogs at bay. And my unwillingness to yield from it, it's got nothing to do with me, nothing, in terms of how I am perceived by what matters to me is my mirror. I need to know that when I look in that mirror, that the truth that I seek, or truth in general, there is no one the truth. Truth just is. It's a self-evident thing. You know it because you epiphany on it. And what I have to do every day is measure myself against that. No one else. I don't measure myself against, well, so-and-so. Here's where we get caught up in other illusions and other people's mirrors. You look at so-and-so, well, they're doing this and I need to be like that. No, you don't need to be like them. If there are traits of an individual that is leading by an example, by all means, exemplify and take those as your own self-evident truths, but don't for 1 minute think that someone can take you and hold your hand and make sure that you are on the trail that you need to be walking. I know that's not a very easy concept to get, but really it boils down to exactly what this little writing gave to me. You have to stand in your own truth. You have to stand in your own integrity. And you have to stand in your own responsibility. And what humankind has been conditioned so well to do is to accept another's lies, false prophets, be it whatever, and take them on as themselves because they don't want to be seen as different from everybody else. It's groupthink. And as Tony was saying earlier, this has been very well conditioned. It's been deliberately conditioned. And it's got everybody, running to the Walmarts on the most expensive day of the year because they say it's the cheapest. There's that pit in the middle of the road again. So just be mindful of that. So thank you. I see Adabug. That's a great name, by the way. I love it. Take that was a beautiful piece of writing that someone put together, and I would really hope that you take that apart and become that. Secondary integrity, where you rise above the crowd. You rise so far above that you get a better view. It's not that you're, well, look at me, I'm way up here, and you low lives are. No. This is where you rise, And in that rising, you bring others with you, just by virtue of the frequency, just by virtues of the resonance that others can experience. Because when you are standing in your truth, you will have things to say, and here's the joy of it. People will actually hear you. That's the cool part.
Yeah, one thing I'd add to that as well. I mean, it's this isn't about me. This is about the state that I've realised that we're all in. It's like, oh my God, well, if we're in this sort of a situation now, and this is what's caused it, this is how it's happened, this is why it's happened, this is what's gone on. Well, if you can look backwards and see all of the things that have occurred, then you can also turn your head the other way and look forwards. It's really simple. If you can read the past and what has occurred and why it's occurred, and see it, it's simple. It's right in front of your eyes. You just got to look, and then all you literally got to do is look in the mirror, which is turn your head into the future and think, well, if that's the way we've been going, in another 1 year it's going to be this, another 2 years it's going to be that, possibly another 10 years it could be this, and 15. If it ain't going to take 15 years, wow, what a mess we're going to be in. Whether it's 1 year or 15 years, it makes no difference. The point is we're going to be in a mess. Unless we do something about it collectively, and there's a race. As a race of people, for God's sake. It's bloody obvious. We've got to realise that, like you say, politicians are lying, and we're in wars. We're paying taxes for guns, bullets, bombs, and all sorts of, everything from troop carriers to bloody defunct £3 billion fighter aircraft, which are out of date because we've got superluminal, which is faster than light speed, UFO technology to leave this planet and go and investigate the universe. And they say there's a friggin' economy problem. Well, legalise marijuana. We'll make composites, medicines, fuel. We'll clean up the environment, clean up the fields, and they say there's overpopulation. Bollocks. Complete rubbish. If you look anywhere out there where there's a few fields and a couple of sheep, you'll see acres after acres after acres after acres of totally unoccupied land, and that's not coming even close to the truth. There's much more than that. So it's not popular. It's not overpopulation. It's not polluting the planet, because they're polluting the planet deliberately. In other words, all of these things are being done deliberately. They're manufacturing problems and negative aspects. They're not, all right, let's have abundance, shall we? Let's have 0 point energy, so we get free heating, free electric, free travel, and because we've got 0 point energy, we've got anti-gravity, so we don't need roads. We're not screwing up the surface of the earth with roads. We've got plenty of energy, so fracking's out the window for a start. So's oil, so's natural gas, so's nuclear. All these sorts of things. They're easily solved problems when you just look at the solutions. It's, oh my God, it's so simple. It's really so simple. But we have got to change as a race. It's not about even allowing them to continue screwing up the planet, because it's not good. It's not good for anybody. It's not good for the planet. It's not good for the wildlife. It's not good for us. It's not good for nothing. And that's exactly what they want. They want us on our knees so we can't do anything but crawl to them for a couple of scraps, because we've got no choice. It's that or die, that or starve. And that's where it's going. So best we turn it around and wake up pretty damn quick and deal with it. I don't know if I can put it in any simpler language. It's so easy. It's just like, wake up, realise we've got the solutions, and then, okay, enough's enough. We know what you've been doing. That's it. Time out. Let's change it en masse. Get out of that. Get out of there, and just basically go and tell somebody. Say, look, do you realise this shit's real? Again, there's a copy of the book there. Give them a copy of the book. Say, look, simple. It's so easy. It's just, oh wow. I don't know what else I can say. I'm out of words.
Well, there you go then, huh? So, hey, Jeremiah, you going to chime in or what?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. From I see you ate a bug. That was amazing. I didn't get the entire gist of it. I was busy taking care of some items, finishing up work now on my way home, which is great, so I can fully participate in this conversation. But I try not to look at the problem, and I try to find a solution. And I had this idea, and you guys could, validate it if there's anything necessary for, any kind of movement on it. But say we have a problem with our water, supply. Like I have this water plant right down the street, and it smells god awful. And I was thinking, if mind is causal, right? And if we were to be able to say get a group of people together, have like a meetup, or it's not even like you don't even have to physically be with each other, but just have a group of individuals, say 30 people or so, all thinking about or all musing about this one intention for clean water. Say we're going to target water instead of something else. We're gonna concentrate our energies and our intentions on, say, water. And this is going to be for various other things I guess you can go with political institutions or healthcare or whatever. But I'd say water is a pretty good solid point. So if people could say get together even daily and just spend an hour, say, just meditating and just allowing the universe to do what it does best, and just feel in that moment as if the water is pure and not contaminated. Just visualize it as you ultimately would want it to be, and just allow that. And if everyone could create these little groups, I say, and concentrate their intentions, but also do, because that's important as well. Being is important. That's the foundation from what I've gathered. That's the foundation. That's the causal. Being and intending and using your positive emotion and just feeling it, and just concentrate your energy towards that that end, and just create these large groups where these people are doing this, and then the groups can grow larger. Then you can focus your efforts on something else, just positive, and just creating from mind, because that's what we do when we form anything into our realities. It's from that mind, that causal point, and just start creating these little groups, and just start making change and doing. But that's what I gathered from everything that's been said.
Oh, no, very well put, Jeremiah. That's why I love when you call in, because you always have something poignant and compassionate to say. And that's one of the things that I do urge people to reach for, All too often we get caught up in the judgments of others. And that's conditioning. Again, this is not about nitpicking at this person or that. It's got nothing to do with that. I hate using the word, but we're all guilty of it. And that is, what we're doing is removing the acts of children and taking on the grown-up aspects of reason, and that's a very difficult thing to get across to people, especially those that are still hell bent for leather, competing in this rat race, and it really is a rat race. They call it that for a reason, And I have to say thanks. I think it was Wanda had sent a video around. I won't say what she had given it a header for, but I thought it was quite funny. But it was a picture of a rat trap that someone had put a camera on. Of course, I'm not really fond of anything being killed, rat or otherwise. But the lesson in the video was, after this rat had been caught in the trap, other rats came out and walked around it, checked things, whatever. And there was one large rat, and what it ended up doing was grabbing a hold of the rat that was in the trap and then dragging it out of camera view. And as the publisher of the video had said, they found the rat trap later with just bits of fur and a couple of pieces of bone around it. So that's what a rat race is, guys. If one goes down, the rest will just eat it. It was literally cannibalization of its own species, and that's what we're suffering from here. Tammy can go into really, I do believe he's going to be calling in, but Tammy can go into some beautiful, deep concepts on this in terms of how we are being manipulated through various means. one of the concepts that I look at with money, they talk about ferns, Federal Reserve notes being, backed by the faith and credit of the United States or the people or whatever the hell they want to say it is. But the simple fact is, every one of those notes that gets printed is for me, a pound of flesh nearest the heart, as Shylock would say. They literally, when you're out chasing these debt notes that are based on the lives of your fellow, earthlings, and it doesn't matter anywhere in the world, because the fern is the world reserve note, so it encompasses the entire planet, regardless of where. What you're actually doing when you're going after these things is saying you're a bigger and better cannibal, preying on the energies of your fellow humans on this earth. And that's exactly the ethereal thing that traps people unknowingly, because people will tell you, well, money's just a concept of value transfer and energy and all the rest of it. No, let me tell you what it is. It is pure cannibalization. These are all private notes owned by the Rothschilds, the Vatican, the Rockefeller. Who cares? We know who they are. What we have to do collectively is to start saying, well, do I really want to be a cannibal of my fellow man? Now, we get caught in that wonderful paradigm of, betwixt and between, where, you go to the grocery store, and if you offer them anything but that, paper flesh that they're used to taking, they'll look at you like you've got three eyes with a head tilt, And this is the real trap, because people have been so hypnotized by the one-eyed god, money, mono-eye, right, that they see it as something other than what it really is. And again, for me, every piece of paper, fiat currency, is and always ever will be a piece of someone else's flesh, and I do not partake of the flesh. I render unto Caesar which is Caesar's, and I will let the dead bury the dead. Pretty cool teacher said that a long time ago. And this is the thing, and I got to say this to all those out there, and it doesn't matter if you're a reader of the Quran or the Torah or the Bible or whatever, it doesn't matter. These books are all the same. They're telling the same stories from different perspectives. They're all the same metaphors, they're all the same allegories, have all the same teachings, just to make sure that everybody gets a piece of that beautiful truth pie, if and only if you can see it. And I'm always taken aback by people that will go out and defend religion instead of the truth that is contained within these books. So it's like, I'll give you an example. Some of the wording that was used in the op stuff, as Arthur has so eloquently pointed out, so as a few others, myself included. If you owned the Black's Law Dictionary, which most people don't, you would actually start to understand and what these words mean. But here's the thing. While someone can wishy-washy away, well, it's just legalese and it's not really important and all the rest of it. Well, if it's not important, what are you doing it for? And if you are going to do it, well, listen, how about you talk to some other people that have a bit more savvy in a few other areas, beyond being a lawyer, to maybe perfect these, quote, documents, unquote, and the concepts therein. That's where we get together. That's where we come together as one for a common intent and purpose, instead of going, look what I can do, look what I did. That's pure ego. I've been in the music game my whole life, and I've watched so many starstruck individuals, and that's including people I've played with on stage and whatnot, where they get starstruck with others around them. I had one manager in particular, and I swear she only worked with me because of the people she would get to meet. And I got to be honest with you, I got really tired of her trying to introduce people I introduced her to. Gets a bit tired after a while. But that's simply the starstruck aspect that people are dealing with. And what I see happening most of all is you've got this crescendo of bells and whistles and rainbows and butterflies around this op thing, without any real, for me, any real meat and potatoes. I see the approach as flawed based on the UCC, because I know what that is, and I know the traps that are in it, and it's not meant for us to use. It never was. And the fact that we are using it, that we're guilty of fraud. You use your own name that's registered, legal, and all the rest of it without being aware of it, you're committing fraud because it's not yours. I confirmed that with the British High Consulate. And I told the guy there, I said, listen, I can't use this name because in doing so, it's Crown property. I know that. It's a registered name. It's owned by the Crown. My parents gave it up. It's not me. but it's what people know me as. And in order to get through your ridiculous fucking system and to be safe, I need something that is going to keep the idiots, useful idiots at best, at bay. So on these terms, I will, I needed an emergency passport. I got one. Take my dad's ashes home. And there was a lot of hours of talk, and actually a trip to Ottawa. I had to meet face to face with this individual. You see, because he had to know that I was a real living soul, that I was actually this meat stick vessel. But I'm inside here. I'm just a driver, right? The meat stick you drop lifetime after lifetime. Me, I'm forever. It's like buying a new car every, say, 80 to 100 years. You wouldn't want to buy the same car all the time. Or if you could, and morph and do whatever you want, that's a different game. We'll get into that some night, Tony? But, the fact of the matter remains is the approach is flawed because the fundamental basic of the original fraud, the birth certificate, and how ethereally, on a very spiritual level, we were given away by our parents. That's the part that needs to be uncovered. And that was the only question I had. What did you do to circumvent the contract that was created? The only answer I got, well, you didn't do it. It just doesn't matter. You see, because if you understood the Ward of Admiralty, look it up in Black's Law. Look it up. It involves the seaman, the father, and of course the fiduciary, the mother. And she has a greater interest in it because she did all the trust construction called the baby, right? And the father is just the beneficiary because there is a perceived inequitability in having a child. That shows up for hopefully a little longer than 5 minutes, and in which I will say go back and listen to Janice Barcelo and the show we did with her last Sunday, and you'll understand the importance of the roles of fathers to become equal in that inequitable sort of arrangement. But the fact of the matter remains, you, the child of your parents, are the fruits of their labor. And that's what people are missing. Your parents created the vessel, and that vessel was given up by contract in their system. And the only way you're going to escape that system is to detach completely from the name. Surname especially. There are ways to do this, and that's why you need to listen to people like Tam just to get concepts of it. But until you get rid of that ethereal bond that you are committed to by virtue of the contract by your parents, because you're the fruit of the labor. Your dad is the beneficiary. Your mom's the fiduciary of the trust of you, right? So it's not the other way around. You're not the heir to your parents. Your parents are the heir to you. You see, and that's how he screwed it up. Because look what happens. Kids grow up and they can't wait to get out of the house and go off and do their own thing, and then as soon as the parents get too old, well, screw the parents, right? Forget the first 25 years of the kid's life, living at home and being looked after. What about the last 25 years of your parents' lives? Just a thought. But again, for me, everything here is backwards, and it's time. It's really time to shift gears and start treating each other with the compassion that Jeremiah brought to the table. That's where I'm going to start seeing real results, and stop jumping at everything that looks like the next great thing, okay? Because that's what the system does. That's called a false flag. That's called we will lead every revolution against us. And again, I'm going to say it because people, whoa, you're saying this about that. No, what I'm saying is have a look at it from both sides. Look at everything as good and as evil with equal intensity. Because only when you do that can you come up with a perfect balance in the middle and see what it really is. And hey, I'll be the first one to cheer if they actually got it right. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be eating crow pie on this one. And if I do, well, all the better. That way, one, I just learned something, and two, won't matter anyway, because apparently the whole planet got included in this, but I didn't give any consent, so, well, it's 7 billion minus 1, and I know a few others that didn't give consent either and won't. So don't speak for me. I will speak for me. I will stand in my truth, and I will not yield from it. So, anyway, there you go. Mini over, guys. Jump in.
Yeah, fair play. One heck of a document. It is. Dominique Rivera. You've got the full Latin name, Kate. I never could pronounce it all.
Oh, the Denique Ultimatum Revirio Verum Fiat Justitia Ruat Suelum. Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is where the whole Sanctum 1302 got busted over a year ago. You know, so they're just catching up now to that express trust, and Santo was talking about it before that even, you know. These are tying everything together, the first express trust. Now what Tammy brings to the table is the full understanding of ecclesiastical law and the fact that they're all clerics. And they are bound by ethereal law, whether you think they are or not. Because everyone, see, the problem with this planet here is everyone looks around thinking that, you know, it's real. These are all waveforms, guys. Okay? This is the creation, and we are at effect to it. We're supposed to be cause over it. You know, while you're stuck thinking in the past, i.e. everything around you is past, it's already built, and then you have your thoughts thinking back, and they want to keep you there, so they'll put, you know, trigger movies, things that will trigger memories and what have you, to keep you in a very low tone in a fear or greed or lust or whatever. You know, there's a reason why the porn industry is so popular, right? Because they did a good job marketing it, and they got everyone living in the lower, living in hell as far as I'm concerned, the lower heavens, right? You know, everything is all so superficial, where they get everyone looking, well, you know, you've got to look like this, you've got to do this. You know, look at the models that they airbrush to turn them into, you know, freaks on covers of magazines or what have you, where they're not real. You know, whatever happened to just looking at someone and saying, cool. But no, you know, the illusion has to be airbrushed, right? And this revolution, as it's been said before many times, will not be televised. But I'll tell you this right now, it will go out over internet radio. Promise you that much. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many people have looked at the front page of Synchronicity recently, but it's getting quite, you know, it's getting a little bit near to the bone now. If you go to the front page of Sync, you will find that there's basically some information on how they're trying to make telling the truth illegal, which is pretty important, really, being as they're the ones that are lying. So if we actually tell the truth and they get caught lying, we get actually done for that. It's like, hang on a minute, something wrong here? We actually tell the truth, and, you know, you make it illegal to tell the truth, so we all end up the criminals, and the actual criminals are the ones that are making the laws, end up scot-free. Can you see where this is going? Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you know, and you make a very important point there, Tony. The thing is, the only thing that makes these laws real are the people actually thinking they are real. It's a load of bullshit. And I was discussing with friends today with regards to protests. You know, if the concert that they're selling, call it G20, G8, or whatever, is such a shitty show, why are people showing up to it? You know, why are they flowing their attention at it and energy and protesting? I'll tell you this right now: if a band was playing in a city somewhere, in a big stadium, and no one showed up, the tour ends rather quickly. And that's what people got to do. You know, it's like the G20. They even set up a protest area. They tell you where you can protest. Really? Think about that for a minute, guys. Okay, sheep that are going to be buying really loud, go over into this part and we have it cordoned off. That way, when we want to encase you, which is what they did, and it's all about group conditioning, you're here. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like much of a protest to me, because you're still listening to the slave state. And the thing is, you get enough people, and it's happening all over the world, Central America, South America, Europe, whatever. You don't see much of this on the mainstream TV, and you won't see any of it. Again, the revolution will not be televised. But I assure you, there are hundreds of millions of people rising up around the world. It's got the elites running on their heels right now. There's a reason why the Pope stepped down. And it's not because of this radio internet show, and it's not because of anything I specifically sent. But I will tell you this, everyone's taken a shot at it as a piece of it. As I gave an analogy today, if you can imagine a pond, and that pond belongs to everybody, you know, is the collective consciousness pond. And every one of us, every time we have an epiphany or a truth, we place that into a karma coin. And then we throw it into that pond, and it becomes the property of all. That's how your thoughts work. When you epiphanize on something, it affects the one consciousness. And I'm tired of people saying, well, you've heard of the one consciousness. And I said, yeah, actually, and I know what it is. People don't understand the relevance and importance of them. If you can understand this, that it is you that is the one, you'll understand it. Because until we all start saying, I am the one, all of us equally, that's one consciousness. We all have a role to play, and something that I do matters to all. Something that you do matters to all. It's a very big puzzle, and it will never be complete without all the pieces. So what we need to do is spend the time. When we find that beautiful truth that resonates, it could be picking up on another, wave epiphany that another part of our consciousness has had. Great, throw the coins in. Doesn't matter who owns them. They belong to all. They become the collective, and it's true. Cannot own anything, and you can own everything. There's no middle area there. It's all and nothing at the same time. So start throwing the coins, because every coin that you create, every beautiful realization of the truth that you create, that you take, put into that coin form, analogy, metaphor, allegory, same thing, and you throw it into that pot, it becomes part of the Akashic record. It becomes part of the collective memory. It becomes part of the collective saving of yourself. And that's where we need to go. Ego will never permit that. If you can't understand that, you have an ego issue. You have a pogrom running in your background, and you need to shut it down. Right? And the minute people, I don't got an ego, the first is the minute I say, yeah, you do. Because I know I do. And I keep the tricky little bastard in check. It gets away sometimes, and I'm far from perfect. If I was perfect, I wouldn't be sitting here talking on the air right now, And that's how everyone has to look at it. That if you're still here, you're still in the game, you still haven't figured it out. So how about we get together and work as a team, instead of trying to be the savior of all, And look at me, I'm the one, It's all ego. That's all pure ego. And I honestly don't have time for it. There's no solution in that. All there is division, divide and conquer. My God's better than your God. I'm going to kill you to prove it, said the religions. Move on from that. Shall we decide to stop killing each other? If they started writing the history books properly, at the battle of such and such, 3,000 soldiers from this country were murdered by, 5,000 soldiers of this country, who also had 3,000 of their soldiers murdered as well by the other side. Let's start calling it what it is instead of glorifying it. I mean, Bill Donahue had he's got so many beautiful videos, but some things just really go far and above standing out. And what he did was, you get people that get really high strung about. Let's talk about the really intense fundamentals, be they Christian or whatever, it doesn't matter. But someone that's really stickler on this quote moral thing, and we go back to the cover the lady's ankles, cover her face, all the rest of it. And I'm not picking on anything in particular. I'm trying to get the concept out here. And let's say a veil slips, and part of the society is excuse me, that is a big taboo. Someone's going to freak out. Yet that same individual is going to flick on the TV and watch, some guy on a hilltop with a 50 caliber machine gun mowing, people down, and that's okay. But they get all freaked out about, I saw her ankles I'm cursed for life now, that kind of shit. That's the problem with the insanity of this place. And I know we need to change that. And that's going to change with you. It's not going to change. I've changed it with me. Right? I'm working on me. I'm not interested in working on anybody but me, because I won't step on your free will choice to be all-knowing or all-not-knowing. That's your call. That's your perspective. That's the other part of me that still needs to move up or down, whatever the case may be. Because we are in infinite levels of consciousness here, and it's never a make less or make right. What it is a perspective sharing. You don't know up until you see down. You don't know hot until you feel cold, and vice versa. Anyway, my rantings.
Well, yeah, you pegged it, Kay. You always have the best way to wrap these things up beautifully, and you're right. It's all neutral. Don't mind my dog. She's just running back and forth. You can hear her paws pattering on the wood floor here, but. it's really it boils down to that neutral aspect, is understanding the parts of the whole, and just seeing right through it, just understand, really comprehending, not understanding. I hate using that word now that I know that what it is, and but it's really just finding that neutral point and really recognizing it and working through it, and now it's a matter of just waking up the people and how we can do that, and it's really up to them. We can't tell them, we can't force them into this perspective. They have to find it themselves, and some people won't find it, and that's okay because that's their journey. But it really just boils down to each and every one of us waking up and just seeing that collective, seeing that infinite potential, and taking part in it, and taking part in it the way that our path follows individually, but it all goes to the same point where we're all looking for peace, and we're all looking for unity and things working out and harmony, and it's just you pegged it absolutely, and that's all I can contribute at this time.
No, that's fine, Jeremiah. See, therein lies that's where I see the responsibility. If I'm going to sit here and yap my face off, I do want to be a little bit clear about it so that people can fundamentally understand what it is that I'm trying to convey. And I've been a songwriter my whole life, and I think that is the one blessing that I've had the time to work on for decades, literally decades, thousands of songs. And one of the main things that anytime I was working with someone with songwriting, is the concept is this: you have to get the biggest possible picture you can and say it in the fewest amount of words, 3.5 to 4 minutes. And it takes time to hone that skill. It really does. And it's an ongoing craft. It's not a how would you put it? Some people just have that innate ability, and I've met many of them, some beautiful writers. And I think in a lot of cases they didn't even know the gravity of the profound statements they were making. Now here's something else too, just to bring to the table as well. Sorry to stick my throat. Let's take a look at organized institutional religion. Okay, we'll leave the people out of it here. We need to leave the people out of it. Let's separate church and state of mind here. All right, so the institution of and the way it's been indoctrinated. I've said it many times, and I will continue to say it because that's how I see things. I've always seen things here as backwards. We talk about, quote, God the Father, unquote, in a masculine sense, when we know, this is not I think, perhaps, but we know that this universe is the net result of magnetism, that beautiful force, where you're never a child with a couple of minutes playing and going, these are really cool, and you were trying to figure out where this power, this magical power, and it is magical. Magnetism is the most underrated magic on this in this universe, because it's what created this universe and made it possible. You see, because what we have here is the magnetic, Magdalene, right, magenta, these words, which is the creative feminine magnetic, masculine electric, where feminine is the void in which creation can occur, and the electricity is the masculine intent where that creation comes forth. But what happens here is we've created all these religions to, quote, worship a penis-bearing entity, and I'm not quite sure exactly why a deity needs a penis. If they're a creator, they're not really into, there might be, who knows, but apparently a lot of these creators God types aren't very good with money either. I like Carlin's take on that, but the truth of the matter is this, is out of the feminine magnetic, the original creation mother is where the prodigal son, i.e. electricity, comes from, because magnetism in its beautiful stillness force brought forth the child, the prodigal son of electricity. In the beginning, there was the Word, and you better spell it like this, W-H-I-R-R-E-D, as in spiral, word, word around. Just like on our world, W-H-I-R-L-E-D, They like to spell it differently, so they distract you. That's why you have to close your eyes to the spellings and start listening to the phonics. Anyway, so I just wanted to bring that to the table, because everything here is backwards. And as soon as you start looking at things, seriously, and I mean this, try this. Put them in the mirror. If a bank turns to you and says, "Listen, I want everyone to invest in this because it's a good deal," do you think it's for the people's benefit or for the banks? No, it's for the banks. And what they're going to do is get everyone going over there, dumping their money in, while the banks are over here, knowing full well what's going on because they're manipulating the situation, and they're the ones that are going to take the prize, right? Anything system tells you, go 180 degrees. Brad brought up a lot of good points last night in terms of, I'll bring it into the golden rule. If someone comes to me wishing harm upon me with intent, what they are actually wishing for is to be harmed in kind. That's how cosmic law works. You see, so if the intent is to harm, then the intent is also to receive harm. So it's a very neutral position. So yeah, by all means. And what they've done is they've conditioned us to think that if we defend ourselves, somehow we're being, evil. No. If the intent was there in the first place to not harm, it would never come up, would it? So anyway, I just wanted to bring that whole masculine, and I've talked about this many times. I'm trying to get it to a point where, I see posts, I get posts and all the rest of it, about God the Father. Oh, please, cry me a river. What's wrong with that picture when the void, the creative void, is a magnetic feminine of which electrical energy was created? Magnetism can create electricity, and electricity can create magnets, right? In one way, there is no drain of power. In the other, there is. So, shall we go back to creation? Just a thought.
I don't know where I could top that from. Plasma? But, interesting stuff. Don't really know what to say.
Well, you know me, I'm a freak of nature, right? I've always looked at things backwards. I got to tell you, what has made me the happiest, I've been absolutely bloody miserable getting here, but what's made me the happiest is people finally starting to see it for themselves. And that's the important thing. All I can do is go, hey, look over there. What do you see? And all too often, like the people who are riding down the trail, they just see what they want to see. They don't see the change in the leaves, and they don't see the turned over things where a very skilled, tracker would see it from a mile off and would go around it or go and investigate it first, because they will see it. It stands out. And that's what we are. I mean, they talk about the truth movement. No, we're more like it's truth trackers. We're trying to track it down. We're trying to alleviate the assumption that everything is as we think it is, right? We have to move along from that way of thinking. We really do. And you know how to get there? It's really easy. Compassion. Instead of looking at someone that might be a little different than you and going, oh, I'm a freak and all the rest of it, instead look at them. You see someone, I got to tell you, wasn't that long ago, I was outside and I looked across the way, and there was this individual walking down there. Beautiful. I'm talking the funkiest bright red hair, not quite like in a Mohican style, but just really, really funky and clothes to match that screamed, "I'm a rebel and I love me." And I said, what a cool perspective of me, And that's how I saw it. It was a perspective of me. Not that I was looking at somebody going, oh, what a freak, right? Because the minute we start realizing that everyone we look at, everyone we experience is actually another part of us, you might be a little bit less quick to judge, because when you are judging, guess what you're doing? You've just found your flaws. Best get a mirror and sit down for a while and have a little chat with yourself. Oh, we have Tammy, it looks like. I'm just unmuting Tammy. Is that Tammy? That's you, eh? Hello. Or area code 501.
No, it's me. I couldn't find the mute button.
Okay.
You have to be smarter phone, apparently.
No problem. I thought. How are you, hon? Good to hear you.
Good. How are you?
Oh, good. Kind of in a neat space today, so just trying to share some minor little epiphanies and little pieces of trying to take the bigger picture and make it a bit simpler, like a coloring book sort of thing.
Oh, I like coloring books. Later on, I'll give you the attorney coloring book. For anybody else who needs it, it's on fatanduseless.com, and it's quite the thing. It's an entertaining coloring book for attorneys.
I like the sound of it already.
Oh, yeah. I'll give it to you in a little bit. So what was the topic earlier? I've been missing it. It's been sporadic. I've been trying to get to Blog Talk online and having issues, and so finally I gave up and I called in on the phone. Catch me up.
Okay, well, in general, I think we're more on a bit of a philosophical tear. What do you think, Tony, Jeremiah?
Yeah, something like that. We've put the world to rights several times over in different perspectives, and pretty much laid it out there the way it is, really, in a nice way, of course.
Well, we're trying to be nice about it, for sure. Absolutely. What I mentioned earlier, Tammy, about your approach, you've talked about it a few times on the air with us, and you know, I can't think of a way to describe it, because what you bring to the table is an undermining of the cultural program, in terms of, and I love how the female like and what have you. And this has got nothing to do with sex or gender preference, guys. This is just conceptual philosophy, and there's only certain ways that you can put it, and you totally get it, And that. Maybe if you could go off on that for a bit, Tammy, that would be awesome.
Well, the dyke female and the dyke male, they're both psychopathic. That's only where that fits. They're not homosexual. They're psychopathic. Usually the dyke female is married. She has at least 2 kids. She has 6 children to maintain the title of mother. She's married to maintain the title of wife. And in order to maintain those titles, she has to have ownership of those items or objects. And this is what's happening. She's viewing human beings as objects, and she's able to commercialize them and de-commercialize. And this is the foundation of all politics. This is how she is owned. This is how the children and her are maintained in shadow, because she's constantly seeking those titles. She has to have ownership of something. And, Jesus was very, very plain in 1 Corinthians 13 when he's telling her, don't have things to own. Do not possess things. Stop doing this. Stop possessing yourself, because this is you're seeking a way to be rather than being. You're not realizing of what you are, which is what feminism teaches. Feminism teaches females that we are not unless we earn it. We have to earn the right to be. We have to be a stay-at-home mom, or we have to go out and work. These are rights to be rather than just simply being. What do you like to do? Have you found yourself yet? Where are you most comfortable? That's being. That's being. Stop earning the right to be. Stop being the use. Stop doing these things. When I first came on the call, I was listening to you talk about judging. And again, we go back to the Bible, 1 Corinthians 6. Dare any of you having a matter against another go to law before the unjust and not before the saints? Do you not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Know you not that we shall judge the angels? How much more things that pertain to this life? If any have judgments of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge who are least esteemed in the church. Least esteemed in the church. I speak to your shame. Is it so that there is not a wise man among you? No, not one that shall be able to judge between his brethren. But brother goeth to law with brother, and not before the unbelievers. Now, therefore, there is utterly a fault among you, because you go to the law with one another. Why do you not rather take the wrong? Why do you not rather suffer yourself to be defrauded? Nay, you do wrong and defraud, and that your brethren. How are you doing this? Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of heaven? What is this saying? Stop asking the court to determine your matters. You need to direct the court. You need to be the prosecutor. You are the judge. Why are you going into court and asking it to give you anything, rights, benefits, anything? Direct the court. It is yours. It is broken. It is unjust. It is the church. You're putting yourself in front of a judge who's sitting on a bench. Bench in French is bank. When you're in front of him, you're a special deposit. You are a deposit in the bank. Where do you go? It depends on what gender you are. It depends on what religion you are. It depends on what color you are. The Federal Reserve maintains you as an ism. Feminism, sexism, racism, Judaism, Catholicism, environmentalism, corporatism, individualism. Stop claiming these titles and names. Name under black spot means a distress. That's how you're stolen. That's how you're taken. You claim a name. You claim a right. You claim a benefit. Stop claiming these things. Come into the United States of DE as one individual. One. All of us. One. We are the vessel. 1 Corinthians 12. And can I say to you, you're not a part of me? No. Can I rip my foot off and does it make me whole? No. When you're torn off from me, you're torn off from my vessel. We're one. Act as one. Stop being individual. Stop being person. Stop being female. Stop being male. Stop being man. Stop being woman. Those are breeding terms. This is a farm. We're only I am. All is one. The vessel. Stop parting me out. Quit it. I will not be parted.
Oh, hey, Tammy, I want to jump in there because there's a very critical word that you said that most people just glaze over on. You know, you said stop being an individual. I wrote an essay on it called In Divine Duality, which is what individual is. In as a prefix also means not. So it's a duality, right? The word, yeah, every word means it's what it is, and it's complete opposite. So individual or individuality, right? What you have there is in divine duality or not divine duality, and that is a perfect divide and conquer word. And everyone wants to be an individual. Well, you've made your consent to be divided. I am not an individual. I am you.
You are me. And that's what Ruby was saying. You know, the philosopher Raises or Rumi, he was saying, I am you. You are me. You know, and that's what Jesus was saying. Take up your cross and follow me. He didn't say him. He said, follow me. I, the ultimate I am, state of being. You know, we've got all these crosses. And if you're an individual, you're going to bear that cross all by yourself. But if you lay it across the backs of many of us, that cross is not so heavy. Shift the burden. Put it where it belongs. You know, here you've been rung around, debt's been rung around your neck. First of all, there's no such thing as a pretense. It's an illusion. Credit, they've been acting on your goodwill. Credit, goodwill. Credit, goodwill, the will of God. Credit, potential energy. You know, these things, it's sick what they've done, what they've taught humanity so that they can be subjugated. Subjugated. Subscribed. Prescribed. Superscribed. Inscribed. You're being written. Take up your damn pencil and write it yourself. Your walk, your works and actions, that is the book of life. You cannot have anything other that's a book of life other than your works and actions. You in motion, a body in motion stays in motion. Don't be in the past tense remembering. Don't be in the past tense recognizing. They need you. They require you to recognize. or to view yourself in another way. They need you to look in that mirror and look at that reflection. That is not you. That's already in the past tense. Think about frequency. How often something goes around and around and around and around the state. When you're peering at something, what is the frequency of vision? What is the frequency of sound? What is the frequency of sense, motion, physics? You know, all of these things we have to come back to being one. Act as one. We are each other. But when you rip you off of me, it hurts. You know, feel, come back to reality, actuality. Stop living in a literal world, a virtual world. These things are not happening. It's a creation, a fiction.
You know, Tammy, what you're talking about are so fundamental. And this is the thing about people. One of the words I like to use to describe things, to get people to actually start listening to what they're saying. You know, when you get a letter and you feel that you have to, you know, it says you must respond, right? Well, what is spawning? Spawning is the creation of new life. It's rebirthing. So when you respond to something, you've actually given it life. That's why, for me, anything, especially in this corporate legal shite sense, anything written is dead. It comes from the dead. So I let the dead bury the dead. And I've said this a few times on the air, but you know, at my house I had removed the mailbox and just put a garbage out. You know, place garbage here. You know, and they didn't like that too much. But you know, hey, whatever. Bottom line though is we have to be more mindful and paying a bit more attention instead of taking for granted that which we were taught in terms of tongue pledge, language, langage, and start listening and understanding the frequencies. Because you said it, they are frequencies, and they're very well designed frequencies to have a very, very specific intent. And as soon as you start to understand that the words that you're using were used to enslave you, they can set you free as well once you get this. Where the intent is now fully... This was one of my karma coins I threw into the pond. Once you fully understand that you have to see and hear the words to get a fuller understanding of it. And there's nothing more criminal and more confusing than legalese and the word trickery they use in courts. One of my all-time favorites, reset, retax, process, foretax. Do you want your due process? No thanks. You can keep that. I'll keep me, and you know, you can have your church, call it court, call it whatever you want. I don't care. Another one is sitting judge versus a presiding judge. No, it's presiding. They're telling you exactly what they're doing, and you walk in there willfully as and that is not what you should be doing. And all we're doing when people do that is granting
the authority of the court. You're granting them jurisdiction, or the ability to dictate your law. Jurisdiction. You're in this place, and the most profound thing to me is the word believe. Everybody's believing that something's coming, that an entity is going to whisk in here and save everybody. He's believing. The word believing comes from to be left, to be gone from the self. Believe. And Jesus was trying to teach, especially Corinthians, because they were speaking a language that was, it appears to have been relative to English, and he was speaking things that they did not realize or did not understand.
Yeah, so, as we were talking about, just different perspectives. I mean, Tammy's got it nailed there because, I mean, Kate's looking at it from the legal perspective and Tammy's looking at it from the biblical perspective, and we're looking at it from an ordinary perspective. Well, you register your name, you give it over to the king, you register. Pardon me. So, I mean, it doesn't matter which way you look at it. We've all unwittingly been involved in fraud of one kind or another, which opens us out to karma, basically. And as we did an interview with Mark Passia, and we were talking about karma and how we've all been sold into the slave system with bonds, stocks and bonds, etc., traded on the stock market. The list goes on. But you see, this is one of the things where they got us covered, because I've done lots of shows with Kate. Sorry. Basically, I mean, we couldn't figure out how it was possible. I say Kate couldn't figure out how it was possible for you to go into a crowd full of people protesting for a good reason about a good thing, and then end up with having crowds full of police with batons coming out and beating the crap out of you under a situation of universal law. Well, what was wrong? What was going on? Where's the missing link? That shouldn't be allowed. You know, there is a universal law that is paramount, that which must be obeyed, and it was the ability to try and see between that, and you couldn't figure out where the fraud was being committed, because in order for that sort of situation to happen, we all had to be in fraud, and we couldn't figure out. Or she couldn't figure out where that fraud was, and it turns out to be the birth certificate, because we're all involved in fraud. Because we registered it all to the king, and then went around using it as if it was ours, which is complete and utter fraud. And it just got deeper from there, the different law forms, etc. But it's interesting to see Tammy's information on that, because it just correlates so well. Even though, like I said, even though it is in the Bible, and there's lots of information on the Bible as well. Which is actually based on astrotheology, if people look up with Santos Bonacci, etc. But it's a very blooming clever book, and that's even without looking into things. And if people haven't looked into the Bible code, oh my God, you need to do some research on the Bible code, because this code is embedded into the Bible itself. It's what Isaac Newton went looking for a long, long time ago. But the code was designed in such a way that it couldn't be cracked unless you had a computer. Now, of course, this is... I can't go too deep into this because it's a long story, but basically it was with the advent of the computer and computerized searching through the Bible itself that actually uncovered the code. So, again, we've contacted the guy who's just written the book, Bible Code 3, and he should be coming on shortly to go through some of this, but let me just give her an example of something, just one thing. Some of you might have heard this before, some of you won't. But Yitzhak Rabin was contacted by the same guy that wrote this book, and he said, well, look, I've put your name into the Bible code, and I've searched, and I've come up with this particular thing out of the Bible code that correlates with you. It's actually, I think it had his birth date on it. It had the word assassination, and I'm not sure if it had the exact date of his assassination. Bear in mind he was still alive at the time. Basically, the journalist who wrote Bible Code 3 went up and warned him and said, look, I've run your name through the code, and this code is something else. It really is. And I've run your name through the code, and it turns out that somebody, according to the Bible code, somebody's going to assassinate you. I'm warning you. I'm trying to ask you to take heed that this actually might happen, and that you should pay attention to my warning. Anyway, cutting a long story short, he didn't pay attention to the warning written within this subterranean code hidden in the Bible, and he was assassinated. And I just happened. Somebody asked me a couple of days ago to say, can you remember where that clip was? And I was thinking, I don't know where it is. And anyway, the point was, it was under a George Noory Coast to Coast radio show from years ago. Now, I couldn't find the actual clip, but I did come across a recent clip. So I thought, well, maybe there's a reference to it in that clip. So I listened back to that clip, and the same guy is now talking about Barack Obama being assassinated. Apparently he's in the Bible code as well. of a potential assassination. Now, bear in mind, this other guy doesn't know about Russellian science. He doesn't know about the information we've been talking about. He hasn't got a clue what the law's all about and all that sort of stuff like we're touching on here. Not even close. But he's an expert on the Bible code because he's been working with it for years and years and years. What's in the code and how the computer information works, etc. I can't find his information off the top of my head. I'm desperately trying to remember his name, but I can't remember where it is. I don't know the date either, but the point is, he contacted Oprah Winfrey and he wrote a letter to Obama and he said, look, I warned you, Rabin, this assassination was in the code. I've run your name through this code. It's turning around that you could well be assassinated, etc. The only person I know that can get this letter to you is Oprah Winfrey. So anyway, he got in touch with Oprah, and Oprah apparently sent him this letter, and then lo and behold, Obama's just announced that he's going to be surrounded by security guards with guns. So it's like, there you go. So maybe somebody's taking something serious that's actually written in the Bible code, which is why it's actually encoded in there. I could do a whole piece on the Bible code, on what was found, when it was found, how it got found, what it said. It's just all sorts of stuff, revelations and stuff about obelisks and 9/11 and all these sorts of things. But anyway, there's, just waiting for Kate. I'm just sort of like doing a fill-in here. Yeah, we're definitely going to get this guy on when he responds and confirms that he can come on, because his information is incredible, and maybe we can just point him in the direction of a few little bits and pieces while he's here, if he'll listen, which is always the big if. It's all right telling people stuff. Well, it's not telling; it's helping to try and enlighten people. I just use telling as it's just an abbreviation type thing. It's the way we talk here. But again, you can take a horse to water, or the water to the horse, but you can't make it drink. So if it wants to carry on thinking in its own paradigm, then that's fine. Without trying to use any analogies, I mean, if you want to think that science or physics or harmonics or whatever is that way because that's the way you were taught in school, well, fine. All I'm suggesting is there may be another way. You were always taught that the Earth was solid. So was I. You can do geology classes on incredible ultra doctorates and master's degrees on geology. At what point is any one of them going to tell you, well, actually, the Earth's hollow? Well, they're not. Why wouldn't they do that? Well, that's the paradigm shifter. Because if the Earth is actually hollow, and Kate's just connected back up, so she should be with us shortly. If the Earth is actually hollow, and when you do some research on that, you'll find that the Earth is a representation of a cell. And a cell as in the cells in your body. And as above, so below. In other words, in all of us is everything out there. And everything out there is all of us. We are all one, as above, so below. And that's the biggie to get your head round. And there are many, many, many different aspects of looking at this. How can I just sort of put that into a very brief clip? Can I? Nassim Haramein. If you go and do a little bit of research on Nassim Haramein, and I do have a Facebook page to the Resonant Project, if you can just bear with me, and the computer's processor, of course. If I can find it, I'm still trying to get used to this bloody thing. How do you do it? Facebook's, well, I suppose it's alright, but it's a pain in the arse unless you know exactly how to use it. But yeah, if you type in Resonance Project, and I'm trying to find out where I will find all of my different things I'm connected to, pages and stuff, and I haven't got a clue where to bloody look. But yeah, if you type in Resonance Project, or Nassim Haramein.
I'm back, Tony.
Cool. Into a search engine, you'll find all of that information. And it's some incredible stuff. You You'll probably have to do some lectures. But again, when you understand the world on this complete different perspective, it changes your whole view about everything. It's like, oh my God, I can see it now, because you've been taught it now. But until you understand it, and until you've been taught it, you can't understand it. Until you understand it, you can't see it. Do you see what I'm saying? It's there you are. That's why you have never been taught it. But anyway, over to you, Kate. You all up and verbal now?
Yeah. We got Tammy back, and we have a caller from area code 661. We got 8 minutes left here, so I just want to see if we get some comments. That was interesting popcorn. That was just bizarre. Guys, give up. We've already won. You've lost. Just, stop playing your silly childish games. Anyway, area code 66174. You got any questions or comments? Your mic's open. Going once. Going twice, no problem. Your mic's open, area code 661, so if you do want to jump in, feel free. Tammy, are you there?
I am. That was interesting. Funny and ironic how, disaster occur. I mean, come on. For the last few years, doing what I do, everybody warns me, don't go up against them, Tammy. Don't do this because they're the ones with all the guns. They're the ones with all the guns. Come on, they're hacking us. They're hitting us on Facebook, and they're hitting us through Blog Talk. This is hilarious. Now, they have the military forces. They have all the guns, and they're hacking us. They're screeching in our mics, and they're ruining our sites and whatever else. This is funny. It's ironic. It's not scary. Here we are. We're maintained under Stockholm syndrome. The act of patriotism is patronizing something in exchange for protection. The action of religion is patronizing something in exchange for protection. Democratic theory is patronizing something in exchange for protection. Stockholm syndrome is patronizing your captor in exchange for protection. In Stockholm syndrome, you know who the captor is. In democratic theory, nobody's aware that it's like the corporate governance, religion. Nobody is aware that it's the Pope or whoever's indoctrinating you. But in Stockholm syndrome, you know who the captor is. Get out of the Stockholm syndrome. Stop being fearful. This when they shut us down, the concept is, and this is sad, I'm sorry, and everybody always thinks that I'm a bitch, but when they're tearing up the sites and everything else, the concept or the premise is that sheep will go off because they're given the internet. They see shiny things that ring and bling and light up and make noise, and they go off and play elsewhere. That's all they're doing. When something messes up on a radio program, you're going to turn the channel because you no longer have the ability to think for long periods of time. The attention span in a human being is less than 7 minutes at this point in time. That's a given. That's within media theory. You have programming on television now. You have a half-an-hour program. In between that half-an-hour program, you're given 7 minutes at the most of attention span in order to learn or do whatever you're doing or be entertained. You need to step out of the box and start thinking on a relative sense, actual sense, and just be. All of these things, crashing sites, hacking blogs, hacking Facebook, it's nothing, but you have to combat it. Otherwise, it is the silent weapons for quiet wars. The computer has always been the silent weapons for quiet wars. It's intended to get you to go sideways rather than forward. And if you didn't turn the channel, I am so glad. I'm thankful that you didn't turn the channel. I'm thankful that you're not off farming on Facebook now and that you're with us. But their premise is to nail us so that you go elsewhere. People just go elsewhere. They have other things to do, other shiny things to poke at, things to do on Facebook, games, whatever else. And it's so silly now. It is absolutely silly.
Absolutely.
I was going to say I couldn't agree more. And, the level of silliness that they're doing is only a measure of how much fear we got thrown into them. and they know that it's coming down, and there's nothing they can do. And I still look at this, as crazy as this game has been, as hurtful and as wild the experiences I've been through, and I've been through enough. It's still a stage, and the hardest thing I think for me to learn is how to stop taking it so seriously, that it is just a game, that it is just a creation of experience, and we go on from there. And what we're dealing with now are so many entities that have been caught up in the illusion, thinking it is real, So we got just over 3 minutes here, guys. So I'm just going to say my little thank you very much to Paul and Lisa and the crew at Critical Mass Radio for giving us this platform. For Tony's, Tammy, myself, Santo, and Pat, of course, your co-host, Tammy, and I can't thank them enough. And we're obviously making a difference when they have to come on and make crazy popcorn cracker gun type sounds to make a point. Okay, well, we know your point. You've lost, you're frustrated, and this is the best you can do. So anyway, that being said, 2.5 minutes, guys, so wrap her up.
Yeah, again, all I can do is just apologise for this, but, we all... And maybe it is my fault. Maybe I told you the truth, and that was, whoops, shouldn't have done that. Never mind. I did it anyway. But that's what we're all about. It's about bringing you the information that you need to know in order to make a sensible decision based on the facts and not based on a load of rubbish. It is what it is, so, fine, I'll just carry on doing it, but there you go. That's all we can do is try and bring you the information. So sorry about that, but it has to be said, and thanks for listening, guys. I hope you've had some beneficial information out of what we said tonight. I certainly have from Tammy and Kate, and, everybody who comes here hopefully brings something beneficial, including the chat room. Thank you, guys, and God bless you all. Cheers.
Oh, thanks, Tony. And a great big thank you to Jeremiah. I will say every time Jeremiah calls in, he always has something beautiful to add love that, from so many different perspectives, and especially from the compassion and I'm just going to be me perspective. Yeah, we had some fun tonight. Tomorrow night we're on QL television from 7-ish to whatever. Typically an hour, so hang in there. We generally start late, but the target is 7 o'clock. So anyway, just let you know, QL Television with Johnny Guzman. And Tammy, any 60 seconds, you heard it. Any final comments you want to share? We'd love to hear it.
Just please stop striving to be, seeking to be, thinking you could be, ought to be, should be, or otherwise would be. And just be. Stop playing into statutory provisions, statutes, or statements of compulsion, and really get involved and read their book. Book is Codex. Open it. And once it's open and once you're able to open that book, then it's your wrath that's made known. Stop believing yourself.
So well put, Tammy. You bring such amazing words of wisdom to the shows every time, and your new show is a hit with everybody, Leaving the Farm every Thursday night. So again, I want to thank all the listeners for just being you and giving us the purpose to be a voice, hopefully that has some love that can be heard. So this is your platform. Much love to everybody, and good night.
Night.
Good night.
Tony?
Good night, all.
All right, good night. Thanks again for tuning in to Cosmic Blueprints Open Forum here on Critical Mass Radio Sunday night. Take care, and we'll catch you guys on Critical Mass on Tuesday. Don't forget, tomorrow night, QL Television with Johnny Guzman. Much love to all.